All right, we are live. It's Thursday night, 8 p.m., and we're on the Living in Jacksonville channel. And tonight I am solo. My co-host, Miss Rachel, is at a concert down in St. Augustine tonight. For all of you that are down there enjoying some live music, I hope it is a great night for it here in the summertime. Tonight we've got a pretty cool show for tonight. One of the big questions I'm getting constantly these days for those of you reaching out on the YouTube channel, a lot of folks are asking me, "Hey, I'm looking for a home." And really, what I'm trying to figure out right now is should I be considering new construction or should I be looking at resales? Where's the deal, right? Because as I'm going to go over tonight, we have a lot of incentives for new construction right now. And then we have a lot of inventory for the resale market. So big competition here in Northeast Florida because we are a market that we have a lot of new construction. And so overall, we're going to show you tonight how much inventory has risen, how days on market has gone up dramatically as of this date today. Here we are in June of 2025. So we have a lot of things happening with the economy. Interest rates are still high. So I think right now I'm sensing a lot of fear in the market. A lot of people are waiting. And as I'm going to show you tonight how the market has been with the analytics showing what a zigzag it has been. And so the biggest challenge of all is the interest rates, okay? Constantly going from the 6.5, 6.75 to over 7%. So that is not letting up like a lot of people had hoped. And so you really need to make sure if you're going to look at an opportunity for a new home purchase that you truly understand what expenses are, what's affordable to you. Otherwise, you're kind of wasting time. So a good real estate professional is going to really feel out what your buying power is, what your expenses are. I've really had to clarify to people what all their expenses are on these homes because you not just have a mortgage payment, you have home insurance. Here in the Northeast, we have CDD fees, or you may have a master HOA and another HOA, so or a neighborhood HOA. So there's a lot of expenses involved, and so people are really getting granular as they're being cautious, as you should be in this market. But again, for those of you that are intelligent, smart, getting all the data and finding a good real estate professional to guide you through this, you'll see that there are some fantastic opportunities depending on which direction you're going in. And it's very complicated to navigate these waters when you're looking for a deal, right? Of course, everybody wants a deal. The thing is, though, is you have to really figure out what are your needs and wants. And then in the area that a good real estate professional knows, based on your wants and needs, they can narrow you down to very specific areas. And we can talk about we can look at a resale. We should always look at a resale in comparison to a new construction. It's crazy to me because me and my team do a lot of new construction. It's crazy to me to see that a lot of folks or a lot of agents and a lot of sellers are listing their home at a certain price, not even realizing that there's brand new construction in the area, in the neighborhood sometimes, that has better prices, but also offering massive incentives to buy down the rate. We've seen rate buy downs now. I have clients that have closed in the last few weeks with interest rates as low as 5.4, 5.6, 5.75 fixed conventional loans. That's right, a 30-year fixed conventional loan for under 6%. And that's because they're buying homes through builders that are offering massive incentives. Now, you've got to figure out with a good lender on your team, you got to figure out what makes most sense for you, because a lot of these builders are offering flex cash, and that's where you got to determine, do I want to use it to buy down the rates, or do I want to use it to pay down closing costs? It just depends on what kind of buyer you are. So we're going to kind of go over that a little bit today, talking about what deals are out there and what that looks like in comparison to a resale in some of these communities. So really quick, let's go ahead and check out these articles recently by the National Realtor Association, just to give you an insight. If you're got your heads in the clouds, let's see here, share screen. Okay, so buyer-seller gap widens in the housing market. Sellers are outnumbered by buyers by 500K nationwide, the widest gap in over a decade, as listings rise and buyers remain cautious amid high mortgage rates. Okay, so sellers are outnumbering buyers in the housing market across the United States, the biggest gap in more than a decade, Redfin analysts found. The number of home sales on the rise, but buyers have not re-entered the market as expected. With about 500,000 more sellers than buyers in April. As a result, sellers are offering concessions such as paying for buyers' closing costs, cutting house prices so buyers have the upper hand in the housing market. Still, many buyers are priced out of the market because of mortgage interest rates remain stubbornly high. Buyers also continue to see economic uncertainty, which is many putting off larger purchases. So that's very accurate. We're seeing a lot of folks being extremely cautious. The only thing I can say maybe is that there's still, it says here, buyers are priced out of the market. Not necessarily. There are some deals to be had in the lower price points, depending on the builder. And I will caution you, that's why it's good to have a good real estate professional. There are some builders that are giving away everything. And I caution you because if it's one of those huge builders, and I'm not going to name what builders are, but they're on the lower tier and they're not a good quality builder, I don't care what kind of deal you have, you're going to have major issues down the road on some of these homes that they're just throwing up. So if it's overly too good to be true, be cautious. Again, good reason to have a good real estate professional to advise you on the quality of a builder if you don't know the area. The builder may be good in your area, depending where you are in the United States, or they may not be so great in this area. So that's why it's really important that you have someone guiding you through this, and really costs you nothing, especially when you're dealing with the builders. But as a new person heading into the market, you may find some opportunities with these massive incentives to be a homeowner, buy down the rate, again, in those lower rates, depending on your situation, your credit score, and of course that you have job stability. All right, that's the key here. Chen Zhao, Redfin's head of economics research, expects this mismatch to lead to lower house prices across the nation later in 25. She adds, it doesn't feel like buyer demand is going to come back that much. Prices are just too high. Realtor.com found that active listings are still 14% below average pre-pandemic levels, but rose in May to the highest level since 2019. Buyers are holding an advantage in Southwest and Southeast markets. That includes us. The Miami metro area has almost 3 times as many sellers as buyers in April. The Midwest and Northeast markets, however, have more buyers than sellers, and the buyers continue to experience competition from other buyers in those markets. So it's really important to understand the market you're in. Certainly down here in Florida, we have a plethora of inventory. And so we are fully in a buyer's market. And I think we definitely have plateaued as I show you some of the market analysis here. But really be aware of that, because I do have clients that are in certain parts of New Jersey that are still selling their home in less than 2 weeks. Certain parts of New York, DC. It just depends. It's all about supply and demand. And we just happen to be in an area in Northeast Florida where we have a lot more supply than the average city or area of Florida, even, because we not only have resales, but we have a lot of new construction. And the MLS data is kind of misleading. So if you're on other sites or national videos where people are talking about the numbers in Florida, most of the time they don't even know fully what the numbers are in areas that have so much new construction like we do, because not all new construction hits the MLS. So unless that data is shared by the National Builders Association, it's not always accurate. So not only do we have the inventory that you see from the local MLS data, but then you have additional data that shows there's also additional inventory available from new construction. Let's talk about builders. The builder sentiment is down. Again, this was reported here in June by the National Association of Realtors. Builder sentiment is down, price cuts increase. Builder confidence eased in June, but increased price incentives reflect efforts to make homes more affordable and attract buyers in today's market. Further sign of declining builder sentiment, the use of price incentives increased sharply in June as the housing market continues to soften. Builder confidence in the market for newly built single-family homes was 32 in June, down 2 points from May, according to the National Association of Home Builders. So again, buyers are increasingly moving to the sidelines due to elevated mortgage rates, tariffs, economic uncertainty. So again, the builders are really trying to address affordability concerns and bring hesitant buyers off the fence, and they are moving to price cuts. So they revealed that 37% of builders report cutting prices in June, the highest percentage since National Home Builders began tracking this figure as a monthly basis in 2022. This compares with 34% of builders who reported cutting prices in May and 29% in April. So the average price reduction was 5% in June. The same it has been every month since last November. Okay, the use of sales incentives was 62% in June, up 1 percentage point from May. So rising inventory levels and prospective home buyers who are on the hold waiting for affordability conditions to improve are resulting in weakening price growth in most markets and generating price declines for resales in growing numbers of markets. So given the current market conditions, National Home Builders is forecasting a decline in single-family starts for 2025. That means they're just going to, they're not going to be building as many homes. A lot of the national builders are holding back now. A lot of builders, usually when business slows down, they'll start building a lot of spec homes rather than doing a pre-sale. Pre-sale is saying, hey, you can build your own house from the ground up. If we're not having a lot of pre-sales, they'll go ahead and spec out lots and get the homes built. And then you buy it as a quick move-in and they incentivize you. Now builders are building so much inventory that they're not necessarily building as many specs now. They're now holding back because they want to get rid of the current inventory that they have. So this is a big game you're playing. If you're not fearful right now and you have stability in the job market, this is the time where I've seen the most massive incentives. And I'll talk about some of those incentives here today as well. But this is the news from the National Association of Realtors, the National Home Builders. The builders' perceptions of current single-family home sales and sales expectations for the 6 months as good, fair, or poor. The survey also asked builders to rate traffic prospective buyers as high to very high, average, or low to very high. Scores for components are then used to calculate seasonally adjusted index, where over 50 indicates that more builders view conditions as good than poor. So all the major HMI indices post losses in June. HMI index gauging current sales condition fell 2 points in June to a level of 35. And the component measuring sales expectations in the next 6 months dropped 2 points lower to 40. So these numbers are usually in the 50s. We're below 50 now, so that gives you an indication that builders are concerned. In my industry and whatnot, we're definitely thinking, hey, I've heard people say, hey, we haven't seen the worst of it. Probably going to see the worst of it in November, which actually, that doesn't surprise me at all, because really I always say if you're looking to purchase a home, November is always the best opportunity, especially a house that's been on the market for a while. If you're looking at resales, or if you're looking at new construction, a house that's a quick move-in that's also been sitting on the market a while. Another great opportunity is houses that are cancellations, meaning a buyer built the home and then after the 9-12 months, they lost their job and they weren't able to close on the home. So those are great opportunities for to snap up a house that's been built for somebody else. Now the builder has it, they want to close it out on their books, and then you can negotiate some pretty good incentives in it. Now, the caveat to all this is that builders have to be very cautious. It's depending on the builder, it depends on the community, it depends how much inventory they have. It's all about supply and demand. So they are very cautious in communities where there's still a lot of homes for sale, especially newer communities, because they do have comps, right? And so they have to be very cautious that if a home is on the MLS and it does sell and it gets reported because they advertised it on the MLS, if they can't sell a quick move in, sometimes they will put it on the MLS, those ones that make it to the MLS, because they want to market as much as possible to as many realtors. They want it broadcasted on realtor.com and Zillow's. So they will put it on there on the MLS, and then they have to report what the home sold for, and that could affect the comps. And they don't want to affect the comps for the future of the neighborhood if it's a newer neighborhood. Now, if the community is closing out, that doesn't matter as much because they're leaving the community. They're going to sell those last few homes, blow them out, and create as many incentives, and try not to lower the comps too much. But this is something, again, having a real estate professional on your side when you're looking to shop, you can make sure that when you're negotiating that you've gotten to where the comps are, that price point where the lowest comp is, and then understanding that if you want to protect yourself, that you can also negotiate additional things. And I can get into that a little bit more because we've been negotiating all kinds of things depending on the builder. I mean, we've been negotiating landscaping, screen lanais. We've been negotiating and getting golf carts, depending on if you're in a golf cart community. We're just negotiating a lot of things because those things are of value, but they don't show in the comps, right? And so it's very confusing sometimes also when you see these incentives, because they can, at the end of the day, the numbers all come from the same place. They all net. You just got to understand the values of it, and understand what benefits you in your situation, depending on your credit, depending how much money you can put down, if any, depending how much money you have for closing costs. So that's why it's so important to have somebody to really help you, guide you in showing you where the benefits are going to be best for you, and having a good lender as well. They have their preferred lenders. Again, if you're working with builder, they have their preferred lenders, and it's good to have a good real estate professional to say, hey, these are the good lenders. When they're showing you the incentives, especially when they're buying down the rates, when they're putting in closing costs for you, you want to really make sure you have a good lender that you trust, and that they're not putting those incentives, they're not charging them back to you as a line item, like having a loan estimate worksheet showing what all your costs are, that they're not just naming it something and charging it back to you over the 30-year period. We call baking in the additional expenses in the 30-year. It may not be it might not be easy to catch because it could be a difference of $15, $20, $30 a month on your payment, but it's an additional expense over the 30 years that adds up. So depending on the lender, you have to make sure that you have a good agent watching out for you, and you're with a lender that has your best interest and is not always charging you back those incentives that you think that you're getting. All right, so let's go ahead and go and look at some market insights overall. Before I go there, I'm going to go ahead and share this because not only is there great opportunities for buyers right now, but this message is also for my folks that are thinking about listing a home or have listed their home and they've been sitting on the market for ages. There's two main reasons for that. And I'm talking to you as well, because I do have a lot of buyers that are building homes or want to build homes, and they're trying to move here, and they're from different parts of the country. Not all parts of the country is a buyer's market, but a lot of the country is a buyer's market because our inventory is so high now across the country. But people are having problems selling their home. And usually the reason for that is most of the time two things or three things. One, A, is you're not priced correctly for the market, okay? And that seems to be a massive problem right now. Number two, the home is not staged properly. It's not in good condition. It's not in good showing condition. If you're competing against new construction in the area, it blows my mind because we have so much new construction here, and I've shown a lot of resales because by principle, I always want to show my clients or my buyers new construction as well as resales in the area so they can compare. This is what a used car costs, and this is what a new car costs. Well, that doesn't make sense. Why is a used car cost the same, and the new car it costs the same but is new? But then I have all these additional, leather, additional features, incentives, if you will. Why would I buy the used car? So I don't know why agents would list some of these homes, not realizing that there's new construction right down the road that is actually not only better priced, but has better incentives. But believe it or not, I've seen that. I've been out the last few weeks, and it's incredible. So, people like new car smells. They like new tires. They like everything. But of course, there are certainly unicorns where if a property is, in a fantastic lot, lake to preserve, it's a unicorn, it's done up really nice inside. There are definitely exceptions to that rule, and those houses will move faster. So let me take this comment real quick. David, hey David, are you seeing widespread incentives or price cuts in St. Johns County, or are certain master plan communities, price points, or property types holding value better based on your expertise? Yeah, it's a great question, David. Yeah, I'm seeing widespread incentives in St. Johns County for sure. We have a lot of new construction, but again, it's all based on availability, right? So, for instance, where I am in Anacostia, we don't have a ton of larger lots, 70 and 80 foot lots to build on, or the top preferable 70 and 80 foot lots. We're kind of coming to the end of development. But on the 40 foot lots, we have a lot of 40 foot lot product, but not larger product. Now, as you go out west past Phillips Highway, out on 210, now you start getting into all these other master plan communities like Silverleaf, Rivertown, Shearwater, whatnot. You're going to see a lot of incentives out there because there's just a lot more inventory. So just high demand. But I'll tell you what, there are some people that have been with resales that have been finally coming down to earth, and they are taking losses. So let's go ahead and look at these numbers real quick, if I can figure this out. Let's do this here. All right. I'm not sure if you guys are seeing this. Let me see here. Forgive me. No, you're not seeing it, of course. Let's see. All right, let me see if I can get this page up. All right, I'm assuming you guys can see this. Let's go back. It's a problem when you have too many monitors here. Okay, let's see here. Okay, finally I figured it out. Too many screens. All right, so the numbers of homes for sale are rising in many markets, giving shoppers more choice than they ever had in years. Sellers are becoming more flexible in pricing, underscored by the price reductions we're seeing. And while higher mortgage rates are certainly weighing in on demand, the silver lining is the market is starting to rebalance. That could create opportunities for buyers who are prepared. I always say it, I sound like a broken record, but be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful, and that is that time. Right here, we see inventory topped 1 million for the first time since winter of 2019. That's 6 years ago, and that is by Realtor.com. As you can see here, the white line is 2025. We've surpassed any other year on inventory for a long time. So 31.5% year over year. So the listings are keep going up and up and up. All right. The increase in inventory is also promising and supports long-term stability in the housing market as wages rise and households are formed, such as through marriage and bringing in dual income. This influx of inventory returning to normal levels provides an optimistic outlook. Yeah, I think this is a good thing because when you have more inventory, you're definitely in a more balanced market. Prices will stabilize or come down depending on what market you are in, and it just makes it more affordable. And I'll show you some deals and what that looks like for folks that are trying to get into their first home. Again, I'm going to go back to this. Pricing your house right now is absolutely critical. I've been to a lot of listing appointments and just couldn't come to an agreement on the listing prices of homes. And I don't think it's because people are not being realistic, or sometimes I feel like they're being in denial, but folks that are selling houses that they bought in 22 or 23 at the peak of the market. I'm going to show you some graphs where the pricing is right aligned with that, meaning after you list your home and you bought it that short while ago, with expenses and everything, you're going to lose money. And so we're seeing that with folks because a lot of people are going back to offices, they're moving back home because of sick family members or whatnot, and they're having to sell and they're taking a loss. And so some people are okay with that, and that's because essentially they also sold their house at a great profit 2 years ago, and they may have overpaid in this market, but it's all relative. Basically that gain is now lost here if they have to sell prematurely now. So it's all relative. It just depends on your situation, but listing your house with the hopes of selling it and not being critical about your listing price, about making sure the home is in excellent showing condition, and not understanding your market of what you're up against as far as competition and new construction, you're wasting your time. And it blows my mind because I will see a lot of agents that will just are desperate for a miracle that some buyer will come along and overpay for a house. It's not a good way to market your home. And once it's sat on the market, I heard someone say the other day, hey, I'm going to try out this listing price and test the market out. This is not a time to test a market out. You have to be razor sharp when you list your home right now. You need someone to be brutally honest, a real estate professional, and be brutally honest with you, show you the comps, show you where you need to be priced accurately out the gate. Give yourself a little bit of padding, but this is not a time to test the market. When there is so much inventory, you really have to make sure when you get that buyer in the home, you have to catch their eye and be their top 3 choice. Because like we were out last week with some buyers, and I'll be out tomorrow. When we used to see, basically on my buyer profile what they're looking for, they would maybe have 6 options. We'd be out for a day or 2 half days. Now folks are having 12 options. We have to pick it down to the top 3, and we're out for 2-3 days looking at like 10, 12, 14, 18 different homes because there's so many options between new construction. So it's absolutely critical that you hit the market. And again, everybody's situation is different. If you don't need to sell and you're like, okay, I'm going to list it at this price. I always give folks 3 listing prices. I go, here's the price you need to be if you need to close in the next 30, 45 days. This is the lowest price point I would list at if you need to get this sold. Here's the medium price point you need to be at with the average days of market for this market, whether which neighborhood you're in. It could be 45 days. It could be as much as 70 days. And then I go, all right, if you are in no rush to sell at all and you want to sit on the market for 6 months, then this is the highest price point you can go with the hope that the market will recover to where you think it should be or what you paid, if you will. And otherwise, and if that doesn't work, then I say, hey, rent the home out. And I know no one loves renting their home out, but you should exercise all avenues with your agent. 8 and 10 potential home sellers think they'll get their asking price or more. Yeah, I'll get more than my asking price, 35%. I'll get my asking price, 46%. I'll get less than my asking. Not a lot of realistic sellers out there right now. And it's really about their agent educating them truthfully of what they can get. Again, there are some markets that are really hot. I've talked to some folks, if they're watching tonight, in Hawaii, not a lot of inventory there. And they said, hey, I'm in a great property. I've been there for a long time. I have people asking me if I'm going to sell, I'll buy it. Same with folks in certain parts of New Jersey, certain parts of New York, DC area. It's incredible to me how quickly they're able to sell their home compared to what we're seeing here, which is 60, 75 days on the market. 1/3 of sellers had to reduce their asking price. Again, it's pretty standard. I just don't think it's a good strategy to go in and list your house on the market with the intention of knowing you're going to reduce the price, because there are sharks out there looking for blood. And that when you start reducing your price, that's showing weakness and an indicator that you're you're not priced right. You're not being realistic. So here's what's going on in the US, which is really interesting to me. As you see here, we're in Florida. And of course, we're seeing the largest portion of reduced sales here in Florida, 24%. Texas is seeing 23%. Nevada is 24%. These are all the places people are relocating from, whoops, I went back here, where they're relocating from California, New York. Again, see, New York's not really seen as much price reductions, only 9%, 15% in Virginia. So I was talking about DC. So these are all the places, like I said, New Jersey, only 10%. So these are all the places that we're not seeing as many price reductions, but here we are in the Southeast, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, we're seeing massive price reductions. So definitely if you're in one of these states where you have lower price reductions, you're in the Midwest and you're thinking about moving to Florida, and you can get good money for your home and you can come to Florida and shop away, then so this is a good time for you. It's a great time. It's a perfect time. Like they say, the perfect storm, it's the opposite for you. So if you're trying to go from Florida to one of these places, well, you're definitely not the best timing for you, for sure. So rising share price reduction suggests that a lot of sellers are anchored to prices that aren't realistic in today's housing market. Today's sellers would be wise to listen to feedback they're getting from the market. Yeah. If you get any feedback, we have some resales where people haven't had showings in 2 weeks, or have an open house and maybe have 1 or 2 nosy people popping through. That's how bad it is in certain markets, certain communities. So it is key to make sure that you're realistically priced, that your home is in tip-top showing condition. Otherwise, you'll be one of those statistics sitting there and you won't even have the proper feedback. If you're not getting feedback, again, remember, number 1, you're not priced properly. Number 2, price to your market and understand your market. Number 2, you're not properly staged. Your home is not presentable in comparison to other homes in the market. It's not catching people's eye. And then number 3, you really, I didn't mention it before, but you don't have a good real estate professional that's being straightforward with you and giving you all the facts to make that wise decision. So again, been to a lot of listing appointments and telling people what they don't want to hear, and that's okay. I don't want to waste my time or lead them with false hope. So Sellers are pricing high based on comps from the past rather than current demand. Today's list price growth is accelerating while sales price growth is decelerating. Back in 2020, both were accelerating. So yeah, if you bought in 20 to 2022 and you were building a home or whatnot, it was a great time because, you know, we were, it wasn't like now, where sellers are still trying to get pricing from back then and buyers are looking for deals. So we're just not on the same page. That's from Redfin. And then you tackle on there that interest rates are 6.75, 7%. That's a big deal. For every $100,000 borrowed, it costs you $600 a month. That's a lot of money for every $100,000. So that's why we're seeing such massive big mortgages. I think a lot of people also did these 2-1 buy downs, and now the 2 years are up and they thought they were going to be able to refinance. That's another thing I'm seeing as well as I'm seeing a lot of folks that are a lot of companies downsizing. They either got doged or their company was downsizing. We're seeing a lot of people's jobs being replaced by AI or just cuts, the tariffs, all these things coming together. It's definitely getting some people caught in the middle. Sellers want more than buyers are willing to pay. That's about accurate. There you go. There's the median sales price and the median asking price in March of 2025. Look at that massive gap. That's a big gap, folks. If you look at that orange, that's just showing you what the major difference is on, what people are expecting and what people are trying to buy. So we need to make that a little closer here like previous years. So we're definitely off on that. When buyers and sellers are on different planets, one side eventually has to give in, and it's looking like it's going to be sellers this time. Rising inventory, price drops, and seller concessions indicate this is already starting to happen, and sale price growth will likely continue to slow as a result. And we're seeing it happen. It's already happened here in Northeast Florida. The best way to determine your selling price is talk with an expert, get a pulse in the current market. Remember to consider differences between your home, others recently sold. Be realistic about your home and what the market can net you based on its condition. Again, not only know the difference between your home and others that recently sold. Again, a lot of new construction may not be on the MLS. It won't be in there as a comp. And you won't even be able to compare to what's really being sold out there. So make sure you're a good agent that really understands what the new home market is doing. Because if they're pulling comps in the MLS, it's not considering that someone bought a brand new house in your neighborhood and the comp is not on there. So they're not even considering that there's all those incentives tied to it. So super important as well. Days on market has risen since 2021. Yeah, we saw days on market. This is nationally, folks. So here we are at 35 days, 30 days, 43 days, 44 days, 45 days in 2024, and 51 days in 2025. In some areas here in Northeast Florida, we're seeing as many as 75 days. I know I'm talking a lot, but I'm trying to get a lot of information out here tonight. If you do have any other additional questions, go ahead and put them in the comments and I'll try to address them. This is your opportunity. Inventory has risen since 2021. Again, we were seeing inventory, pre-pandemic levels. 2021, 447. Now we're at 1 million nationally. So great time to be a buyer. Really good time to be a buyer. Existing home sales are down, as you see, since 2021. We've seen home sales drop all the way down here to 4,500,000. So 4 million actually. So a significant drop as well in existing home sales since 2021. The writing is on the wall. The correction has occurred. Days on market continue to go up. Inventory is going up and sales are going down. So we're seeing a lot more expired listings. Expired listings are up 17%, 17.5% when comparing January through May of 2025 with the same time frame in 24. Trend looks like with the end of the year as high as 20% more than last year. So again, expired listings are just people not listing with the proper expectations or listing properly. Unfortunately, I think some folks are not listing properly because they're desperate. They don't want to lose money. and they're kind of in a tight place, and that means potentially foreclosures. I don't know. We'll see. More than 1/3 of relisted, expired, canceled, and withdrawn listings. All listings expired were canceled or withdrawn between May 24 and May 2025. A little over 1/3 have been relisted so far. Yeah, so a certain percentage is coming back and relisting with another agent and listing it properly and pricing it appropriately. Of the homes that were relisted, 70% have sold. So again, if you relist it properly with the right pricing, you will sell your home if you have a good agent representing you. And then also, depending on your MLS, your days on market can reset depending on your area, but you'll have to take the home off the market for a little while before it resets. Otherwise, it will continue to have the days on market on the historical data. Not sure why this is looking like this, but of the sellers who relisted their expired listings, over 40% did so at a lower price. So, yep, people are coming back out and relisting properly. They're getting a proper agent to make sure that they're guiding you properly. Over the relisted homes that have sold, about 70% did so for lower than the expired price. So, yeah, a lot of people are realizing what the true value of their home is the second time around. They've been humbled, and then they're able to sell. So you can sell your home, but you have to have a good real estate professional and make sure that you're priced appropriately. I think that was it, folks. All right, so let's go ahead and look at some of the actual comps right now. All right, let's look at a few more market insights here. This is for all my real estate nerds. I know it's not for everybody, but the great thing is the state has already funded major infrastructure projects, so everyone can benefit from that. So no takebacks. Yes, I agree, David. That is absolutely true. All right, so let's go ahead and look at these market insights. So here we go, median sales price. I went ahead and put the filters in because we're in St. Johns County here. So we're going to go ahead. Let's show the filters. Single family residence, St. Johns County. I did all the zip codes here. I'm going to say yes to new construction, no to waterfronts, because those are always an exception. So let's hide those filters. So as you can see here, the median sale price has been climbing up since 2017, going down, zigzag. It's been a roller coaster of real estate. So as you can see here, we saw this median home price of $520 here from 22 on, and then we peaked here in 24, and now we're going back down quite a bit here. It's just been a complete roller coaster here in the last 24 to 25. It's really hard to gauge the market. If you just look at this graph here, look at the zigzags, there's no consistency at all. So let's go ahead and look at sold price per square foot. Let me see if the filters need to be, so this is St. John's. So here we go, price per square foot has been growing here in St. Johns County dramatically. It looks like we peaked here in 2022. Then we back up there again in 23. Pricing again in 2024 is $247. And again in October 24, and now we've gone down, 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 and we're in the lower end here around $233 a square foot. So not huge fluctuations, 243 to 233. Again, to make it more affordable for people, I think that we need the pricing to come down because of the interest rates. We either need interest rates to go down, or we need pricing to go down. One or the other has to give. We can't have both high interest rates and high price per square foot. All right, so closed sales, let's see, it's been quite a roller coaster. Again, no stability here, just ups and downs. Looks like 2020, we peaked here with closed sales. Again, 2023, December, we peaked. 2024. And now look at this giant dip here in January of 25. It's coming up a little bit here again on closed sales. So for those of you who think there's no buyers out there are buyers out there, okay? Don't let anybody fool you on that. It's really about the price of the home and making sure that you are priced correctly. Let's see what else we have here. All right, so that's for St. Johns County. So let's talk about active market sales and resales. So we are seeing a lot of incentives from a lot of different builders. So sorry, I've got all these text messages, so I'm going to talk tomorrow. All right, so let's go here to our market here in Nocatee, one of the top selling communities in the area. So we're going to go 32081, which is a zip code, active. We're going to go ahead. We're not going to do a subdivision. We're just going to do the zip code, 32081. Okay. Now, again, this is an example. This is Nocatee. Look how many active listings we have. We have 360. Not too long ago, I would say there was 20, 50, 60. Now we have 360 and growing. So there are some really good incentives that I've seen as of lately. And I'm seeing them in the Seabrook area, and I'm seeing them in the Crosswinds area, as you see a lot of green there. And again, these are prices that are like 40-foot lots, and they're starter homes. We're looking at, let's go ahead and look at some of them here, for instance. So this is Crosswinds. It's on the south end of Nocatee. Okay. So just in that neighborhood, and these are a lot of new construction homes here. Now, this is the thing that's a little deceiving. As you see here, this one's listed at $294 a square foot. This one is listed at $267 a square foot at $599. $267 a square foot. Not too long ago, just the other day, we were at $311 a square foot. So these are new construction. Now, keep in mind, though, depending on the builder, there are more incentives on top of this. So remember how I was talking about the comps? And comps may say it's listed at $279, but maybe what you don't see is that they're offering massive incentives on the other side. So, for instance, in Crosswinds, we are seeing some incentives that are offering you. So let's say you were looking at a home that was, let's see what this one is. Okay, so this is $599. It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. And it says here in the public remarks, ask about our 5.99% 30-year conventional rate. So what they're saying here is they're saying, hey guys, if you qualify, even though the rates are 6.75 right now, maybe. Can you guys see that? Yeah. So even though rates are 6.75, they're saying, hey, we can get you down to 5.99% on this house. And so the question is, what is that going to look like for you? And again, what they're doing is, in order to get the rate down to 5.99, they're basically going to buy down the rate for you on a 30-year fixed loan. And they're also going to give you 2% towards closing costs, which is a nice chunk of change that will cover your closing costs. So on a home like this, you're looking at $599. And let me see what the numbers look like. 10% down. I know I had this up somewhere, so let me see. We had the numbers. So here we go. Okay, so here we go. So if you do $599 with 10% down, okay, your mortgage with P&I, because you're not doing 20%, would be around 32, 33. Your homeowner's insurance, 125 a month. Property taxes, 622. Mortgage insurance, $89. Association project dues, $70. So to get into a home like this at $599 with a 5.99 interest rate, you would be looking at about $4,140 a month. So $4,140 all in per month. Okay, so this is a deal where we're at $599, and you know what? We don't have to offer $599. We can still ask for something else. We can ask for screened-in lanai. We can ask for a fence. We can ask for epoxy. You can ask for anything else you want on these things. You can try, as long as you're not messing up the comps. So let's go ahead and compare. This is a 2239 square foot home. You can be in it for $4,140 all in if you are able to put some 10% down. So 10% would be $59,000, and you'd be in a single family home. So let's go ahead and compare that to a resale, because this is new construction and this is an incentive by a builder. So let's go ahead and look in a community that's not new and look at resales. So I'm going to go not too far away from Crosswinds over here. Let's just go ahead and go to Settlers Landing, which is a little bit older. This is the community where a lot of homes were bought during COVID and people were just trying to get out of their state. They were paying a very high premium for just a home. It was being like selling sheltered back then. So let's go ahead and look at some of these, see if we can find something similar. All right, so here we go. This is a similar home on 2237, and they're at 723 and 720. Okay. This one's a little bit closer, 665, 673. And these are all similar price homes to what I showed you. Now, I'm just trying to show you the stark contrast of a resale in an older neighborhood to an incentivized sale. Now, you have to compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges here. But again, big contrast in price per square foot. Over here, these resales are in the, if I go back here, they're in the 300 range. And then on the new construction, on the resales, on the new construction, you're at, for the same home, at $599, $279 a square foot. So I hope I'm making this clear. If not, I apologize. It's very granular, but if you go to two areas that are very close to each other, you will definitely notice a difference in resales. Let me go back over here. Now, the resales may already have more landscaping, they may have fences, they may have a lot of additional things, but are they worth the vast difference in price from, say, a $599 to a $723? See here, that's the difference on the same similar price home. So stark difference when you're looking at, I finally got it to look right next to each other, $267 a square foot to $321 a square foot. Of course, you have to look at the lot and all the extras in there, but is it worth $100,000 difference? And you wonder why some of these homes are not selling, is because they can't compete with the new construction and, you know, a mile or two down the street, brand new home. So big difference. And that $599, again, doesn't include all the incentives we talked about, a $599 interest rate, the 2% towards closing costs. So it's just such a vast difference. But again, if the other home in the other neighborhood that I'm comparing is a better lot, it's totally decked out inside, then we'd be comparing apples to apples. But again, I'm just trying to show people that you can get in a new home like this, have your closing costs paid, get a 5.99% interest rate with 10% down, and you could be in it for $41.40. And it's not a bad home. And so I have more examples of this from here in Nocatee. There's a lot of great deals on villas. I've had a lot of buyers, that are downsizing, empty nesters or whatnot, and they're looking at villas, for instance. My brother bought one as well, and we're seeing like as much as $40,000 in flex cash, flex spendings. And what people are using them, again, they're using them towards closing costs if they have cash, or reducing the price, or they're using it to buy down the rate and closing costs. So again, if you can buy down the rate to under 6%, you're doing well. And remember, discount points account, if you get discount points from the builder, that reduces your interest rate like by 0.25%. So if your a VA and your rate's 6% and you get one discount point, your rate can be 5.75%. I've seen people at 5.5%, but there's some great options on these villas here as well. We just picked one up with a buyer recently. They had a massive price reduction of 40,000. See, active price reduced. And then, just because it says price reduced, does that mean there's nothing else available? I don't know. It depends how long it's been in the market. It depends on how far along the house is or whatever. Let's go shopping. Is it going to work for you? How's the back of that house look? Because they're all generic photos. You don't know. And this can take hours and hours. So when I'm with my folks, that's why I look at a buyer profile and I go, all right, guys, what are you looking for? And, what are the important things that you have? And let's go through and look at all my incentives from here all the way out west to Rivertown. We're seeing in Rivertown some major incentives by the developer, which is Matamay Homes. I can go ahead and look at that really quick. And the resales out there are not selling, because how do you compete with a resale? If you go out to Rivertown, that's another good area to see deals right now. If you go out there, the builder is the developer in Rivertown is, normally their incentives end in May. It's their year end, but they're actually heavily discounting past May this year. They're gone into June. We're seeing deals like My shapes are not very good tonight. Sorry about that. But we're seeing deals where you can get a brand new home. You can get discount points. I've seen right now 5 discount points, as much as 5 discount points. Look how many active listings are in here. Okay, so those are townhomes, but you've got to make sure when you're listing your resale, some of these resales, that you're competing with a brand new house next door. Look at this one right here. It's at $289 a foot, and this brand new one at $280 a foot. But what you don't know and what it doesn't say on the listing is, hey, we're going to give you a price reduction. We're going to pay all your closing costs, and we're going to throw in a golf cart. So it's kind of futile to list your home as a resale if you right in the same neighborhood you've got brand new construction you're competing with, and that's a lot of Rivertown. That's why I say if you're going to move to a Rivertown, remember there's still got a whole bunch of new communities coming in there, and so you're competing with $35,000 towards closing costs, and if you don't utilize them all, you can reduce the price of the home, or you can depending on how much the bank will allow you to utilize an incentive money towards rate buy downs. I've seen people as low as 5.4%, believe it or not, in this market, 5.6%. So yeah, there's a ton of listings in Rivertown, great community, but make sure that you're going to be there for the long haul, and also understand that what you're going to utilize those incentive monies for, what it's going to make best sense for you. But I've noticed a lot of resales in there. I showed one and it eventually went to the rental market because on my feedback, I said, hey, the client decided to go with new construction because they needed the flex cash. And a resale, you can't give $30,000 in closing costs. You can't give 5 points towards that. You'll see maybe $5,000, $10,000 towards closing costs on some of these resales, but that's it. So again, now they're listing their spec homes as well as the resale. So it's tough. See, back on the market. A lot of folks are disheartened in the listing process. So don't waste your time. Make sure that you, again, have somebody that knows the market really well and can guide you in properly listing your home. I've already ran through the hour tonight. Sorry for the rambling, but I really do feel for folks that are trying to sell right now and they have to sell at a loss. I hope that, whatever got you in this situation, you made money in your previous home. And if you have to leave or move in some reason, that you're not dragging it out, that you get your home listed and marketed and sold properly at the right price, and depending on your predicament. So I try to help people out as best I can, as sincere as I can be. People don't always want to hear the truth, especially if they're underwater or they're going to lose money. We do have different incentives to help folks out, depending if you're downsizing, upsizing, if you're staying in the area, if you're moving. We certainly work with you there. And then if you're thinking about buying, we're seeing some really good, or I'm seeing some really good deals with a lot of builders right now. Toll Brothers has some fantastic incentives and deals right now, especially in quick move-in. Their inventory is going up, so there's a lot of really cool communities where I like some of the quick move-in options that they have. So definitely some opportunities there. Now, for my folks that are looking for larger homes, very specialized properties like lake reserves, and there's not a lot of inventory in St. Johns County. You're not going to be shopping as much. You're going to be more likely shopping the resale market for that, those 70, 80 foot lots. and you will have opportunities there because we're seeing more inventory. Before, you couldn't get a larger home, 4,000 square feet on the resale market. You had to build. Now we're starting to see people moving back to wherever they came from for their jobs. So you are going to see opportunities there. But as far as people downsizing, we have some really great deals on townhomes, villas. I'm seeing phenomenal deals for sure with Toll Brothers inventory on certain communities. Again, if you want to be in a CDD or HOA community, even in Nocatee, we're seeing some phenomenal deals. We're going to see a lot with 40-foot products. So let me help you if you're thinking about moving the area, or you're thinking about downsizing, upsizing, selling. I have some programs, incentive programs as well for myself. If you have a home to sell and you're moving into new construction, we can work out something with you there with all the builders that I have. And so I hope this was eye-opening for you tonight, and I hope you are enlightened and educated a little bit. And yeah, you can call me, text me, or email me. Love to be a resource of your choice, and give you that sincere evaluation of your current home, and then also help you figure out what you're looking for, and then guide you in a much shorter time frame to the builders that have these best incentives. There are so many once we know what your situation is. And so I hope that was helpful. I look forward to hearing from you. And again, next Thursday, we'll have Rachel will be back. We'll be talking about all the development going on in the Rivertown area. There's some major development going on out there as we expand 210. So that will be next Thursday night. Make sure you subscribe and tune in. Thanks for watching tonight, and we'll see you next week.